Today's video is brought to you by ExpressVPN. Hey brother! Guys, I feel like we've been talking about good old Mjolnir a lot lately. And what with it appearing in the penultimate episode of Loki and Loki being on a total redemption arc, again, I feel like we need to address it once more. And actually, before we begin, I want to give a shout out to erock1224 in our Discord server who suggested this theory, because as I was reading through it, I was like, oh wow, yes, no, that's exactly what's happening. So yeah, well done, Erock. The question we're going to be answering today is, how was Hela able to destroy Mjolnir in Ragnarok, and was she holding it or merely impeding it? And I'm not gonna lie, I used to be in the camp stopping it, like just being in the way of it. I mean, if you throw a ball at a wall, it's not like the wall catches it, but it's also not like the ball goes past it either. And yes, I know, even just last week, I was making heavy claims that was my position. That's how it worked.
She's only stopping the hammer here, not really holding it. It's more a matter of something really powerful being in the hammer's way.
But look, I'm not afraid to admit when I was wrong, and I am totally switching sides here. I totally think Hela actually caught the hammer. I am convinced of it. And you might be thinking, but like, wait, does that mean she was worthy then? Like, how can that be? How can that be true of someone who was so like Hela bent on destruction? You guys like that Hela pun right there? Thought of it myself. Well done, Jay. But seriously, she kills the Valkyries, immediately claims power, destroys a hammer with the unique ability to judge positive human character. She kills Zachary Levi and a bunch of other Asgardians. But Flynn Rider, I mean, come on. Thor says it best.
For you, you're just the worst.
The worst indeed, and yet can wield-ish the hammer? How do? Well, today we find out. Brother! Guys, before we dive into today's video, we need to give a huge thank you to today's sponsor, ExpressVPN. Now look, it's easy to think that anytime you go online, you're not really putting yourself at much major risk. That connecting to your local coffee shop's Wi-Fi network only means that you're gonna be able to get some work done whilst also enjoying your favorite hot beverage. But in a lot of ways, going online without a VPN is like driving a car without insurance. Like, you're never expecting something to go wrong, and most of the time nothing does, but you wanna be protected in case it does. And every time you go online on an unencrypted network, there is a potential for a hacker to be sitting there laying in wait, ready to steal all of your information. Personal data, passwords, financial data, really anything. And without a VPN, a smart 12-year-old with basic hardware could hack into your system. But with the VPN, it would take a supercomputer like a billion years. ExpressVPN acts as online insurance, creating a secure, encrypted tunnel between your devices and the internet. And best of all, it won't slow down your connection at all. Secure your online data today by heading over to expressvpn.com/SCB. Again, that is expressvpn.com/SCB. You can get an extra 3 months free when you sign up today at expressvpn.com/SCB. Link is in the description down below. Oh, Mjolnir, you giant bag of magical worm hammers. Why is it that anytime anyone holds you, it feels like so much is at stake? Well, it's because there is a lot at stake, because you have to be worthy to hold the hammer. Okay, so the scene in question is right here at the beginning of Ragnarok. Thor and Loki have located their father, who promptly gives them two very bad pieces of news. First of which is that he is about to die, like right now, like within minutes, maybe not even that long, which is just like bananas to me. Like, what if they hadn't arrived just then? Did you know they were coming? Also, didn't you just complete the Odin sleep back in Thor 1 to recharge all of your powers? Wasn't that just like 6 years ago? And isn't that only like a blink of an eye to you? Sorry, a wink of an eye to you? Whatever, I guess the point is that he's dying, and also that his boys have impeccable timing. The follow-up bad news, which I also feel like he could have brought up any amount of time earlier, like at all, is that, hey, Thor, you have a sister, and she's super powerful and evil, and she's been locked away in prison. Don't worry about it. We haven't mentioned her even once the entire time you've been alive. But I figured I would tell you right now, because the only thing that's keeping her imprisoned is me being alive, which is bad news because it's the first piece of bad news that I was dying, which means she's gonna be here in like 60 seconds? You're welcome for the notice. Okay, bye forever. I'm dying now. Seriously, how savage is Odin being in this moment? It's like he's mailing a hornet's nest full of hornets to Thor with a note that says, sorry, your problem. Also, not for nothing, they keep making the joke that Thor should be called Sparkles in this movie, but if anyone should be called Sparkles in this family, it's Odin. I mean, what a way to die. Sure enough though, just moments after Odin sparkles to death, Hela shows up and Thor is ready for the challenge. And he begins the fight by throwing his almighty hammer / umbrella. Wait, hold up. When he goes to visit Doctor Strange, his hammer is disguised as an umbrella, which I always thought like, yeah, something you'd carry in a city that isn't a giant magical hammer. But what is Thor the god of? Thunder. And what happens when it thunders? Rain. Did they do that on purpose? Because if so, it is blowing my mind right now. I cannot believe I never thought of that. Anyway, where was I? Right. Thor throws the hammer at Hela, ready to vanquish her just moments after her return. What could go wrong? Answer this. Stop it right there. It is such a small detail, but notice right here how Hela's thumb is just around the edge of the hammer. This tiny little knuckle has sparked so much debate. In this moment, is Hela catching the hammer, or is it that she's just so strong she's able to impede it? And the implications of one answer versus the other are kind of massive. I mean, when Vision lifts the hammer in Age of Ultron, it is enough to convince Thor immediately of his innate goodness, and he even congratulates Tony on a job well done.
Well done.
So if Hela is indeed catching the hammer here, does that mean in some weird twisted way that the hammer does think Hela is right, that her ends do justify the means? Because if that's the case, it certainly does not have the same effect on Thor as when Vision picked up the hammer, although maybe that's because she destroys the hammer like moments later. Which I'm just gonna go ahead and say it, like, rude. Although the fact that she is able to destroy it makes it also seem possible that she's simply impeding its progress. Because if she's powerful enough to destroy it, why shouldn't she be strong enough to just stop it, right? Right, and I too have been under the assumption that's what's been happening this whole time. But now I actually think something else is at play here, and that she did indeed catch the hammer. I mean, not with great form or anything. Cap, you wanna show her how it's done? It is a common mistake though. I mean, this is the big part. You might not think you're supposed to handle it from this like tiny little stick part down here, but it's actually best wielded in this way. So yes, in this moment, I do think Hela is holding the hammer, but not because she is worthy and not because she is so powerful. And make no mistake, she is powerful. I mean, she kills Shazam. But let's go back to Thor 1 for a minute, when all this worthiness stuff began. Odin is in yet another savage mood. He's super mad at Thor. He strips him of all of his power, sends him to Earth, and then imbues the hammer with this spell.
Whosoever holds this hammer, if he be worthy, shall possess the power of Thor.
Oh, I know. Can Hela hold it because Odin says he and not they? And since Hela is a woman, the worthiness stuff doesn't apply to her? Ah, yes, and then that is also the reason they must not let Nat try to pick up the hammer in Age of Ultron. She's all like, I don't need that question answered. But the real problem is that she's a girl and she obviously would have been able to pick it up because he only said he. Classic Nordic god spell loopholes. At it again. No, despite Odin's choice of pronoun in this moment, I think the spell affects all genders on the spectrum. The real takeaway here is simply that he puts a spell on the hammer at all. And so what, right? Well, so what is that it's also a spell from Odin that is keeping Hela imprisoned. And that spell is broken upon his death, which is why she's able to escape. So what I'm saying is that upon his death, the worthiness spell on the hammer also breaks, meaning it is immediately wieldable again by anyone. Now, of course, that never really comes into play because Hela destroys the hammer like 1 minute later and we never get to see anyone else even try to lift it. Except perhaps Hela herself. And you know what? I do think she was holding it because the spell just broke because Odin just died. I mean, for one, look at Thor after she stops it. He's still holding his hand out, not as if he's just thrown it, but holding it out in the same way he does whenever he's calling the hammer back. I think in this moment, he is trying to pull the hammer back to himself, but can't because now she's holding it. And I agree, it doesn't look like she has much of a grip on it, what with her, one thumb. But bear in mind, Hela also has super strength, and when held, the hammer only weighs like a feather, so Hela would actually have a way better grip on it than Thor in this moment. On top of that, notice this pattern that appears on the side of the hammer when Odin casts the spell on it. Well, I'll tell you what, we get a very nice look at the side of the hammer when Thor throws it at Hela, and guess what? No symbol. Now, granted, the symbol is not permanently visible anyway, but it is definitely not there in this moment, so make of it what you will. The point is, Hela is holding the hammer in this moment because anyone could hold the hammer in that moment because Odin just died. But wait, what about in Endgame then, when Cutt pulls the hammer and beats the ever-loving purple snot out of Thanos? Does that mean he wasn't actually worthy in that moment? Because Thor certainly seems to think that's what it means.
I knew it.
But don't worry, it does still mean that, because that hammer comes from earlier in the movie when Thor traveled back to Asgard during Thor 2. And during Thor 2, Odin was still alive, so the spell on the hammer is still in effect. And in the spell, Odin also says whoever holds the hammer shall possess the powers of Thor, which is why Cap is able to then use all the lightning powers when he's got the hammer. Because Thor's powers live inside the hammer, which is something I never really considered until we were writing this video, but I do think that is how it works. I think it totally adds up. I mean, getting the hammer back is what gives him his powers back, and look what happens almost immediately after Odin dies. Thor creates lightning! Now, granted, he is also holding the hammer in that moment, but this is supposed to serve as foreshadowing for later in the movie when Thor is able to shoot lightning directly out of his body without the hammer. Which of course is something he's now able to do because the spell on the hammer is gone. The real question is though, you guys, is there a Rascal Flatts song that would make that scene even better? But there you go, guys. That is our theory for how Hela held the hammer, and it might even explain how she was able to break the hammer, because if it was no longer imbued with all of Thor's power, maybe it was actually more breakable. The real follow-up question is whether or not Loki's gonna be able to use the hammer we saw in the last episode. Am I right? I mean, they showed it to us for a reason, right? I don't know. It could totally just be an Easter egg. But if I'm being really honest, I don't think it's gonna come into play. But if there's a Loki who can handle that hammer, it's actually gotta be Sylvie, right? I don't know, let me know your thoughts in the towel section below, and whether or not you agree that Hela was indeed holding the hammer in Ragnarok. I wanna hear all of your thoughts in the towel section down below. Alternatively, we're also having a lot of fun doing this songs thing, so if you have any recommendations for other songs we could put underneath Marvel scenes, please let us know. In fact, the really good place to tell us that would be in our Discord server. So again, one more shout out to erock1224 for suggesting this theory. If you wanna join our Discord server, you can do so by heading over to patreon.com/SuperCarlinBrothers. But guys, as always, thank you for watching today's video. Don't forget to leave a like on it if you haven't already, and subscribe so you don't miss any future Marvel action from us. If you want to see which characters from Harry Potter we think could wield Mjolnir, you can check out this video right here. But otherwise, Ben, until next time, I will see you in another life, brother.